Hello, hello! Pizza Pax here, and we're back with Bloomburrow Commander Deck number 2. This is Peace Offering. It says Group Hug, +1/+1 counters. Looks like it's Bant colors. So, yeah, let's get into this. Okay. This is a total train wreck at the moment. So, all the things going on at the moment. Spouse's medical issues, which haven't really contributed to this. I just have not put as much energy into cleaning up my office as I normally do. But then we've got like all the stuff that's come in for Lorcana and a whole bunch of releases for Magic, Collector's Booster Sample Pack, and rotation for Standard, which is always a fun, tumultuous time. It's like, oh yeah, all that stuff I've been procrastinating on sorting and putting away doesn't really matter now, does it? That's rotated. Nice themed deck box. It's a bunny. Yeah, just looking around the office, I'm like, what in the heck happened in here? Alright, we've got our insert. Miss Bumbleflower. Very nice. So we got a blurb on Miss Bumbleflower. Nice little portrait. Overview of playing this deck. Quick overview of the commander rules. Another nice picture of Miss Bumbleflower. And some ads. Ooh. Pretty standard fare. And we've got the deck itself. Let's see. I think this whole run that I have is missing the cutout. Oh, well, we got a hold of something there. Yeah, it doesn't look like that was actually the cutout for it. That's fine. Alright, let's pull in and take a look at the star of the show. This deck. Alright, starting off with Miss Bumbleflower. 1 and then Bant, so green, white, blue. For a 1/5 legendary rabbit citizen, Vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains flying until end of turn. If this is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, you draw 2 cards. That seems less like Group Hug and a lot more like Storm. But, you know, it is what it is. Mr. Foxglove. That's very stylish fox. The 2 and red, or 2 and green, white, blue. For a 3/5 legendary Fox Rogue with lifelink. Whenever it attacks, you draw cards equal to the number of cards in defending player's hand minus the number of cards in your hand. If you didn't draw cards this way, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Whoa. That's pretty good. Okay. Tamio, Field Researcher, foil, and Imagine Critters version. Very nice. I'm actually really happy that this is in here, because I was going to buy one of these. Now, I don't have to. But 1 green, white, blue for a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Tamio. +1, choose up to 2 target creatures until your next turn. Whenever either of those creatures deals combat damage to you, draw a card. -2, tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. -7, draw 3 cards. You get an emblem with, you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. Oh, that's right, it doesn't just give, it is just Omniscience from your hand. I forgot about that. That was such a good card. I loved when Field Researcher was in Standard. Tenuous Truce, 1 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant opponent. At the beginning of enchanted opponent's end step, you and that player each draw a card. When you attack enchanted opponent, or a planeswalker they control, or when they attack you, or a planeswalker you control, sacrifice Tenuous Truce. Oh, it's politics, codified into a card. There you go. That is a thing. Lauren of the Third Path. Oddly enough, still in standard. 2 and a white for 2/1 legendary human artificer with vigilance. Whenever it enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Oh, this is the new templating. Cool. Tap, you and target opponent each draw a card. Steelbird Champion. 2 and a white for a 1/1 Mouth Soldier with Offspring for 1 and a white. Vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Okay. That's not quite Mana Gorge or Hydra, but very close. Tempt with Bunny. Can I offer you a bunny rabbit? Tempt with bunnies. Oh, that has much darker secondary meaning that I just realized. 2 and a white, sorcery, tempting offer. Draw a card and create a 1/1 rabbit creature token. Then each opponent may draw a card and create a 1/1 rabbit creature token. For each opponent who does, you draw a card and you create a 1... Oh, that's not a may. For each opponent who does, you draw a card and you create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. So, oh, okay, so that doesn't iterate. That's not multiple times. I was worried for a second there. So that just happens once. Excuse me. So you can give everyone a card and a creature, and for each person that takes it, you can get up to, in total, you can get up to 4 rabbits and draw 4 cards. So that's pretty cool. Perch Protection. 4 white instant. Gift an extra turn. Whoa. You may promise an opponent a gift as you cast a spell. If you do, they take an extra turn after this one. Okay. Create 4 2/2 blue bird creature tokens with flying. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out, and until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. Exile Perch Protection. Oh, okay. So it's a doubled up Teferi's protection that gives you 4 creature tokens if you gift the extra turn. That's pretty cool. Well, if you gift it, it does the extra stuff. Sunscorch Regent. 3 white for 4/3 dragon with flying. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this and gain 1 life. Nice. Promise of Loyalty. 4 and a white, sorcery. Each player puts a Vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Each of those creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a Vow counter on it. This would be really interesting with ways to like move counters around and put counters on opposing creatures. Hoofprints of the Stag. 1 and a white, kindred enchantment, elemental. So this also counts as an elemental spell. Whenever you draw a card, you may put a hoofprint counter on Hoofprints of the Stag. 2 and a white, remove 4 hoofprint counters from Hoofprints of the Stag. Create a 4/4 white elemental creature token with flying. Activate only during your turn. Oh. See, this was about to be a really cool card, and then they messed it up by having it only activate on your turn. Mangara, the Diplomat. 3 and a white for 2/4, legendary human cleric with lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if two or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. This was a really good, like, kind of sideboard card in control decks when this was in standard, but it's been a minute. Realm Cloak Giant. Ooh. 5 white for a 7/7 giant with vigilance. And it has Cast Off as its adventure mode for 3 white, destroy all non-giant creatures. Then exile this card, you may cast it from this you may cast the creature later from exile. And I'm just kind of mushmouth today. Sphinx of Enlightenment. 4 blue for a 5/5 Sphinx with flying. Whenever it enters, target opponent draws a card and you draw 3 cards. Nice. Forgotten Ancient. 3 and a green for a 0/3 elemental. Whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on this. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may remove any number of +1/+1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto other creatures. Bloodroot Apothecary. That is a crazy looking creature. Well, it's a squirrel. Oh, this is the one that just hates on people sacrificing tokens. 2 and a green for a 3/3 Squirrel Druid with Toxic 2. So players dealt combat damage by this creature also get 2 poison counters. A player with 10 or more poison counters loses the game. Whenever it enters, you and target opponent each create a treasure token. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-creature token, that player gets 2 poison counters. That means clues, food, treasure, gold, any of those. Communal Brewing. 2 and a green, enchantment. Whenever it enters, any number of target opponents each draw a card. Put an ingredient counter on Communal Brewing, then put an ingredient counter on it for each card drawn this way. Whenever you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with X additional +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of ingredient counters on Communal Brewing. You know, it didn't have to be ingredient counters, it could have just been a count. It is what it is. Managorger Hydra! Hey, I mentioned this earlier. But 2 and a green for a 1/1 Hydra with Trample. Whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 or not may. You put a +1/+1 counter on Managorger Hydra. Very nice. Rishkar, Pima Renegade. This was a great counters matter card. 2 and a green for a 2/2 Legendary Elf Druid. Whenever it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on it has tap at a green. Great way to ramp, especially if you have a bunch of little things with counters on them. Which the Communal Brewing definitely adds to that. Rites of Flourishing, another fun one. 2 and a green, enchantment. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. Nice. Tempt with Discovery. 3 and a green, sorcery, tempting offer. Search your library for a land card and put it on the battlefield. Each opponent may search their library for a land card and put it on the battlefield. For each opponent who searches a library this way, search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Then each player who searched their library this way shuffles. So this can become a crazy amount of ramp very easily. So, everyone wants to ramp, you get to ramp a bunch. Colonian Hydra. 3 green for 0/0 Hydra with Trample. It enters with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So not just the Hydra, but everything. Bloomburrow Elder. 1 green for 0/0 Treefolk Druid with Vigilance. It gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. Tap. For each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color. Very nice. Simic Ascendancy. Oh, this is a great alternate win condition. Green-blue enchantment. 1 green-blue, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. Hooray! Ghirapur Orrery. 4-mana artifact. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, that player draws 3 cards. Yay! Psychosis Crawler. 5-mana artifact creature, Phyrexian Horror. It has power and toughness XX. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. Adakar Waste. Hey, it's the blue-white Painland. And currently standard legal. Tap for a colorless, and then tap for a blue or a white, and it deals 1 damage to you. Temple of Enlightenment. It's a blue-white temple. Enters tapped. When it comes in, scry 1, and taps for blue or white. Seacrum Coast. Hey, also currently in standard. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands, and then taps for a white or a blue. Glacial Fortress. Enters tapped unless you control plains or an island, taps for a white or a blue. Hinterland Harbor. Same thing, but for forest and island, and taps for green-blue. Razor Ridge Thicket. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands, taps for a green or a white. Flooded Grove. That's for colorless, and then filters a green or blue into green, 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 blue, or blue, blue. Exotic Orchard. Adds mana of any color that your opponent's lands could produce. Canopy Vista. It's forest plains that enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. So it is tutorable with things that name specifically forests and plains. Skycloud Expanse filters 1 mana of any color into white-blue. Prairie Stream. It's a plains island that enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Brushland. It's the green-white Painland. Temple of Mystery. It's the green-blue temple. Yavimaya Coast. It is the green-blue Painland. Keep in mind the whole cycle of Painlands are currently in standard. Overflowing Basin filters 1 mana of any color into green-blue. Sungrass Prairie does the same thing but for green-white. Sunpetal Grove enters tapped unless you control a forest or plains, and taps for green or a white. Vriska Decaphile. You're probably going to want to change this card at some point in the near future. 1 in a blue for 1/3 human wizard. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. Oh, this is a different one than what I thought. And then for 3 in a blue, draw a card. This is also a fun alternate way to win. Chasm Skulker. 2 in a blue for a 1/1 Squid Horror. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever it dies, create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. Yay! Octomancer. What? What? Okay. A 3 green-blue for 3/3 Frog Druid with Gift and Octopus. You may promise an opponent a gift as long as you cast a spell. If you do, when it enters, they create an 8/8 blue octopus creature token. At the beginning of each end step, create a token that's a copy of target creature token that entered the battlefield this turn. Okay. I mean, that is something that you can do, I guess. 20-toed toad. 3 in a blue for a creature frog, or for 3/3 frog wizard. Your maximum hand size is 20. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on 20-toed toad and draw a card. Whenever it attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it, or if you have 20 or more cards in hand. This could have been printed into standard and would have actually been a really cool build around. Why, Wizards? Why? Intellectual Offering. 4 in a blue, instant, choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. Choose an opponent, untap all non-land permanents you control, and all non-land permanents that player controls. Nice. Illusionist Gambit. 2 blue instant. Cast a spell only during the declare blocker step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat fable. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control that combat. So this is a good way to redirect a lethal swing at one of your opponents. Body of Knowledge. 3 blue for an XX avatar. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever it is dealt damage, draw that many cards. So this and Niv Mizzet go infinite. Sort of. Just draws you a bunch of cards. Perplexing Test. 3 blue instant. Choose one. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hand, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hand. Nice. Instant speed way to bounce everything. It's just always nice to have. Jolrael. Well, Wanvuli Recluse. That is a very hard name to say. 1 and a green for a 1/2 legendary human druid. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 green cat creature token. Or green until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand. This can generate a lethal swing nowhere pretty easily. Fisher's Talent. 2 blue. Gain the next level as a sorcery to add this ability, or to add its ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal it if it's a land card. Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. If you revealed it this way, then draw a card. That is very unusual templating. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal it if it's a land card. Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token if you revealed it this way. Then draw a card. Do you just draw the card regardless? That templating makes me think that you do. Blue. If you would create a fish token, create a 3/3 blue shark creature token instead. 2 blue. If you would create a shark, create a 8/8 blue octopus creature token instead. Okay. I mean, that is a thing. Oh, you know what? That doesn't specifically reference when you do it from here. So if you have things like Exotic Pets, which is a card from Streets of New Capenna, where you create 2 1/1 fish tokens, you create sharks instead. That's pretty cool. Let's see if we can get this to focus a little better. That's somehow slightly worse. There we go, that's better. Selvala, Explorer Returned. This card is great for confusing judge calls. 1 green-white for a 2/4 legendary elf scout with parlay. Tap, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, add green and gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card. The funny thing is that's a mana ability, but it's an indeterminate mana ability, which means that you can potentially use this to pay for a spell during the declaration of a spell, not have enough mana to finish the declaration of the spell, and then unwind it, but you've then exposed information. So that's why this becomes a judge's nightmare. So yeah, that's the thing. Alright. Quain, Itinerant Meddler. White-blue for a 1/3 legendary rabbit wizard. Tap, each player may draw a card, then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life. Coveted Jewel. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Oh no, I definitely have a playset of matching Coveted Jewels. But 6 mana artifact, whenever it enters, draw 3 cards, tap, add 3 mana of any one color, and then whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and you weren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Untap it. So this is used in both a Legacy deck and a Vintage deck that are fairly popular right now. This is the preferred win condition, or the preferred engine for Workshop decks now. They're now called Jewel Shop decks pretty often because they play this. Temple of Plenty is the green-white temple. It's been a little bit since we mentioned the temples, but those were quite a bit earlier. Generous Gift. It's the white version of Beast Within, but 2 and a white, instant, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Swords to Plowshares. Oh, that is a pretty version of Swords to Plowshares with a little bunny. It's got a bunny. But for a white, you get an instant, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Very nice. Secret Rendezvous. 1 white sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. Baird, Steward of Argive. 2 white for a 2/4 legendary human soldier with vigilance. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. An offer you can't refuse. This was just in standard, and apparently this has crept up in price. But for a blue, you get an instant. Counters target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. It's just negate for 1 less, effectively. Most of the time. Wizard class. You can also use it to counter your own stuff. Wizard class. For a blue, get an enchantment class. You have no maximum hand size. And then for 2 and a blue, when it becomes level 2, draw 2 cards. 4 and a blue at level 3, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. See, this should have been in standard. They should have just put this through standard. It would have been fine. Cultivate. 2 and a green sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Reveal those cards, put one onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, and shuffle. Farseek. That's such a cute bunny. 1 and a green sorcery. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Put onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Keep in mind this grabs duels. Broken Wings. 2 and a green, instant, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Spore Frog. This has been used over the years so many times to just get infinite fogs. Just if you're able to keep bringing it back, your combat never ends. Well, combat never really works. But for a green, you get a 1/1 frog with Sacrifice Spore Frog. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Sweet and simple. Wear Down. This is from the actual set. 1 and a green, it's sorcery. Gift a card. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. If the gift was promised, instead destroy 2 artifacts and or enchantments. This is actually starting to see a little bit of play in like the Epic Storm and a few other similar combo decks as a alternative to Force of Vigor because of Vexing Bauble. Fearless Recycling. 1 and a green, instant. Gift a card. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If the gift was promised, instead return 2 target permanents from your graveyard to your hand. This was really good and limited. Coiling Oracle. Green-blue for a 1/1 Snake Elf Druid. When it enters, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. Riot Control. 2 and a white, instant. You gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. I could see this potentially making its way into Bant Turbo Fog. And I know most Turbo Fog variants are green-blue these days, but there are still some Bant ones out there. Martial Impetus. 2 and a white. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and is goaded. Whenever an enchantment creature attacks, each other creature that's attacking one of your opponents gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Jolly Gerbils. Also from the main set. 1 and a white for 2/3 Hamster Citizen. Whenever you give a gift, draw a card. Long River's Pull. Also in the main set. Blue, instant, gift a card. Counter target creature spell. If a gift was promised, instead counter target spell. Hey, look. We have counter spell. Sort of. They finally reprinted counter spell, but they made it not quite as good. Thought Vessel. 2 mana artifact. You have no maximum hand size. Tap for colorless. Arcane Signet, 2 mana artifact that taps for a commander's color identity. Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. Nice. Fellwar Stone, 2 mana artifact, taps for 1 mana of any color that a land your opponent's control could produce. It's been a great mana rock ever since it was either Legends or the Dark. I think it was the Dark. But just a good mana rock. Soul Ring. One of the best 1-drops ever printed. It's a 1 mana artifact that taps for 2. Just turns turn 1 into turn 2 and turns turn 2 into turn 4. Just some of the best acceleration in the game. Mind Stone. 2 mana artifact, taps for colorless. 1 tap and sacrifice it, draw a card. Great follow-up to a Soul Ring. Thriving Heath. Enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color other than white, and taps for a white or 1 mana of the chosen color. Thriving Isle, same for blue. Evolving Wilds, search it, tap and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic, put into play tapped, then shuffle. Thriving Grove, same as the other Thrivings, just for green. Paramorphic Expanse, literally the same thing as Evolving Wilds. Command Tower, taps for your commander's color identity. It's a staple for a reason. Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size, tap for colorless. Nice, whoop. Seaside Citadel, enters tapped, and then taps for green, white, or blue. You may want to just replace this with Spara's Headquarters. It's functionally the same, except that Spara's Headquarters can be cycled and fetched. So just something to consider. Then we have our basics. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 plains. 1, 2, 3, 4 islands. And 1, 2, 3, 4 forests. Nice. Now we have our tokens. The 3/3 elephant. There's also a squid. That's a squid. I love these tokens. It's a 1/1 squid with island walk. Squid launcher. Steelbur companion. Very nice. And another squid on the back. A rabbit token. With an octopus on the back. 8/8 octopus. That's a good token. Love the art on that. Then a treasure token. It's a cat. A rabbit token. It's a fish. It's a fishy fish. Birdie. That's another fish. Another birdie. It's a shark. It's a shark. A 4/4 flying elemental. 2 of them, actually. One's a shark. The other's a cat. Didn't see Nasika's chariot in here. I'm a little surprised that the... No, there's something else that creates cats. Poison counter. It's a rabbit on the back. And a turn reminder and popular formats. Very nice. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this adventure with, which one was this again? Peace Offering. It's Peace Offering. Also, apparently there was a hidden message of more bunny, more problems. So, yeah, that's a reference. If you know what album that references, leave it in the comments. Let's see if I'm the only old fogey on the channel or not. Yeah. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff for the algorithm. It really helps us out, helps us grow as a channel. We are still pursuing that goal of 1,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed, please do. I really appreciate it, and really helps out. But yeah, until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.